Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are tackling a massive story, one that's been unfolding for 5,000 years, the incredible, enduring story of Indian civilization.
So here's the big question, the one that's kept historians busy for ages. We've seen great empires rise and fall, we've seen entire cultures just vanish. But India, it's still here. So what's the secret? How has it managed to survive for so long? I mean, just look at this contrast. On one side, you have these beautiful, silent ruins, ghosts of a world that's long gone. And on the other, you have a place like Ellora in India. It's ancient, for sure, but it's buzzing with life. It's what we call a living heritage. This isn't just a relic, it's a dynamic force that is still shaping life today.
Okay, so let's get into it. The key to unlocking India's incredible story isn't just one thing. It's this fascinating balance, this constant dance between holding on to its core identity while also being open enough to adapt to new people, new ideas, and new challenges. To really understand this story, we've got to start with the land itself. The first piece of our puzzle is geography, which really acted as both a cradle and a kind of protective shield for the civilization. The huge, fertile river plains of the Indus and the Ganga, these were the engine rooms of ancient India. All that agricultural wealth meant stability. It allowed for great cities to grow and powerful empires, like the Mauryas, to rise up and leave their mark with monuments like this pillar. And you absolutely cannot talk about India without talking about the monsoon. This wasn't just weather, it was a rhythm of life. As you can see here, it dictated when you planted your crops, it powered the economy, it even fueled trade all the way to the Roman Empire. It's deeply woven into the very culture. You know, understanding the monsoon also turned the Indian Ocean into a super highway. And this wasn't just for shipping goods back and forth, it was a highway for ideas. Indian philosophy, art, science, like the concept of zero, spread all across Southeast Asia, Arabia, and Africa, creating this huge sphere of cultural influence. So, geography set the stage, but what happened when new actors, invaders, traders, migrants showed up? Well, that brings us to the second key to this whole puzzle, a really unique culture of absorption. See, unlike so many other ancient civilizations where conquerors would just come in and wipe the slate clean, the pattern in India was totally different. The approach was more like, okay, let's absorb and integrate these new influences, which created an even richer, more complex culture. And this table here really shows you this process in action. The Indo-Greeks, for instance, they came as conquerors, but ended up adopting Indian religions. The Shakas and Kushans started using Indian languages. And much later, invasions from Central Asia led to this amazing synthesis, creating a blended Indo-Islamic culture that you can still see everywhere today, from buildings to music. There's actually a word for this process: syncretism. And it's really the engine of India's cultural evolution. It's just this blending of different cultures to create something totally new. Think about the stunning mix of Indian and Persian styles in Mughal architecture, or the birth of the Urdu language. It's fusion on a massive, civilizational scale. But, absorbing new things is only half the story. To really last, a civilization also needs a strong core, right? An unbroken thread of continuity that holds everything together through all that change. Seriously, think about it for a second. Political unity was rare. Kingdoms rose and fell all the time. So if it wasn't a single continuous government, what provided the stability? What was the glue? Well, the answer wasn't a king or an empire. It was a shared culture. You had these epic stories, the Ramayana and Mahabharata, that gave everyone a common set of heroes and values. A huge network of pilgrimage sites connected the entire subcontinent. And you had these core ideas, like Dharma, the shared concept of duty and cosmic order that gave people a moral framework, no matter who was in charge. And this is just a brilliant illustration of how that culture was actually passed down. It wasn't random. It was transmitted through all these interlocking systems, from rituals you do with your family to the intense teacher-student tradition, the guru-shishya relationship, which preserved everything from classical music to philosophy for generations. So that brings us to our final section, and this is where it all comes together. We can see how these ancient threads of continuity and change are still woven right into the fabric of modern India.
Just look at this. On the left, you've got a 4,000-year-old seal from the Harappan civilization, showing what some scholars call a proto-Shiva. And on the right,
the Hindu deity Shiva, worshipped by hundreds of millions of people today. That is an absolutely incredible, direct line of cultural continuity stretching all the way back to the Bronze Age.
Or how about art? On the left, we've got scenes from the prehistoric Bhimbetka rock shelters. On the right, vibrant, modern Indian folk art. The styles have evolved, of course, but that fundamental impulse to tell stories and capture the energy of life through art, that's an unbroken tradition right there. And really, that's the main takeaway here. India's story shows us that heritage isn't just something you put in a museum. It's a living, breathing force that's constantly adapting, absorbing, and shaping the world around it.
And that leaves us with one last thing to think about. In our own world, a world that seems to be defined by constant, rapid disruption, what can we possibly learn from a civilization that mastered that dance between holding on and letting go? A civilization that was truly built to last.